Hey everybody, welcome to Live at Epiphan. And this is going to be, I guess, the final episode of the season or the year for us. And it's going to be our traditional predictions episode. So welcome, Dan. You're back once again to help me through this.
Yeah, it's always fun, George, when we get together at the end of the year and make some interesting predictions for the coming year and reflect on the year behind us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we usually do, why don't we start with going back? Let's rewind a year and let's look at the predictions you and I had a year ago, and see how off we were. Because let's be honest, no one could have predicted 2020. 2020 is going to be a super exciting year. And I think even after what we saw at the end of 2019 with the launch of Disney Plus, we are going to see more cord cutting and more OTT.
Yeah.
OTT being over the top, but really what it means is all these streaming platforms, essentially the non-traditional delivery methods, using your current internet connection.
Do you have Disney Plus?
I don't, but does the household?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I refuse to pay for it, but The Mandalorian has been great. So that was an interesting prediction from last year. And you know what? Funny enough, we were right. And also nothing has changed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think we were pretty spot on. More cord cutting, more choices for video streaming services that you can subscribe to.
Yeah.
And I think we were also right in terms of like some of the complexity issues of trying to manage all those services. Just looking at some interesting statistics here. Total homes with OTT expanded by about 3 or 4 million. Hours viewed, we went from like 85 hours a month to over 100 hours a month viewing time. So the trend continues to shift to OTT consumption.
Yeah, absolutely. And, obviously people staying at home during 2020 due to the pandemic made a big difference there. But we've also seen a big shift, for example, towards the end of 2020, seeing these shifts of moving more things online. What used to be the realm of the traditional theatrical release is now coming to the home instead, with this recent deal that Warner and HBO have signed to put, Warner's releases on HBO Max. So, there's a bigger shift still, I think, to come. Your point last year about, is there a way to aggregate? Certainly the platforms are still individual, but I think viewing methods are starting to move towards aggregate. I've switched to using a Chromecast with Google TV, meaning that instead of opening different apps, it's all kind of in one place, and a more centralized listing system. So there are some good progress there, but still a long way to go in terms of a single point of payment for all these places.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see some kind of credit card, perhaps, that offers free streaming for a number of services provided you use that card. So kind of like a credit card points service. I think we might see some traditional payment companies starting to look at how they reward their customers with streaming perks. Watch for that. That would be a little mini prediction for 2021.
Yeah, I mean, I know some internet providers have tried to bundle in some of these services, but they haven't aggregated all of them. So, so there's still space there, as you mentioned last year. There's still space there for someone to come up with a better way of doing a single purchase point for all of these services. So, so hopefully, that comes in 2021. We'll see. So let's look at our second point that we had last year, our second prediction.
A deepfake video will cause an international incident, or has it already?
Yeah. Deepfake made big news, obviously, in 2019. I feel like it slowed down a bit at the end of the year, but early in the year, it was all over the place, and people were panicking about it. I think it'll continue, and I think the technology behind it's going to improve, which is not a good thing, but it's going to improve.
Yeah.
I mean, we're deepfaking you with these armchairs. So, Whoops. uh, we were wrong on that. It's funny. I mentioned in there last year that people are going to panic. Well, what we didn't know about is what they were going to. That was right. We didn't know what they were going to panic about. We thought it was going to be deepfakes and not a global pandemic. Um, but I think arguably deepfake became not so much of a thing because we were a little bit distracted with COVID and kind of didn't leave any space for people to play with deepfake.
I think the thing that we were kind of predicting with deepfake is that video can be manipulated, right? And that it can make it more difficult to discern the difference between what is real and what is not real. Yeah. And I mean, the spirit of our prediction, I think, maybe was true in some instances. You've got more video online than ever before being edited in a lot of different ways. Things like the US election, I know that there were some security concerns actually around deepfake that Facebook and Google were trying to prevent deepfake videos from coming out around the election season. Yeah. There was also some controversy around, I remember when Kim Jong-un went missing for a couple weeks there, there was some questions about whether footage coming out of North Korea was in fact real or fake. So
right.
Although, we may not have had a direct international incident as a result of a deepfake, I think a lot of the concerns around video authenticity still remain.
Yeah. Again, I think we just got a little distracted and preoccupied with reality to get distracted by the fakes in 2020. But that's could still be something to come for sure. All right, let's move on to the next one. Let's roll that clip from last year. Our next prediction is H.265 will continue to be out of reach of most content producers due to high computing requirements. We've seen this for the past few years, basically since we started doing these predictions. I don't see that that's going to change anytime soon. Well, I think we nailed that one. That was pretty much bang on.
Yeah, still not using H.265. I think I use it on my cell phone recording.
But even then,
it's kind of nice for that. But
lots of cell phones can do it. But and I know Cameron's run into this doing video production. What do you edit it in? You can't really do anything with it, even if you record it that way on your phone. So it's still not practical. It's still not being used in a big way. That we were right, absolutely right. And I think that's going to continue still.
H.266, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Exactly. We just skip 5, go straight to 6. Yeah. That's the solution. All right, let's move on to the next one. Let's roll that clip and look at what we were talking about.
All right. Well, hey, those are some good predictions.
Yeah.
Good start.
Yeah, those are good ones. I think we had one more prediction.
Well, what is it? Oh, RTMP and RTMPS will die. So here we were boosting it last year, and now we're killing it this year?
Yeah, basically. And you know what? We're already starting to see this. So I guess we got that one wrong a little bit. Not totally wrong, but a little off.
Yeah. I mean, we're still using RTMP for this show. I know that security with video, especially with a lot more organizations doing internal streams, internal events, having RTMPS is probably more important than maybe it was last year.
Yeah.
So, they haven't died. We have seen some alternatives start to come up. CDNs are starting to adopt things like SRT, but we still have a ways to go, don't we?
We do, yeah. And again, I think that, the unpredictability of 2020 created an environment where, you just had to run with what you had, and there wasn't really space for quite as much innovation in certain areas. And I think stream publishing was one of them. It wasn't time to rock that boat. It was to stay the course on what has been working so that everyone can participate. And RTMP was able to do that. So, maybe that didn't get killed off quite as quickly as we would have thought. Although, as you mentioned, Dan, there's definitely some moves to go away from it with SRT coming in. We're starting to see some major platforms experiment and have closed betas with HLS and Dash publishing and stuff like that, although they're not fully public yet, but they're certainly on the horizon now.
Well, exciting times ahead. I'm sure we'll see maybe a few more shifts happening in the coming year, but uh, I think you bring up a good point is that, there's obviously with 2020 being what it was, innovation was not the priority as much as, maintaining what we already have.
Yeah, exactly. Adapting to what you can do. So, okay, let's move on to the last one. You snuck this in at the very end last year. You kind of just threw this out there. And you know what? It's a fascinating one because we kind of laughed about it afterwards last year. But this turned out to be a pretty good unofficial prediction. And that was right at the end. You just kind of said AI, fade to black. So maybe let's roll that if we have a little clip of it.
Well, do we have any other predictions? I just wanted to just touch on one.
Yeah.
AI.
AI, yeah. And I mean, that's a tough one, right? I mean, I think past number of years we've been... it still is a tough one. But here at Epiphan, we definitely did something with AI. We released and launched successfully our LiveScript product, which is an AI-based transcription device and service. So AI is definitely becoming a thing and finding a foothold. And there's been a bunch of other ways as well that I know you've been experimenting with.
Yeah, I'm excited about the possibilities of like AI metadata tagging or AI object recognition in video. I know that we've been experimenting quite a bit with AI tracking cameras, so like PTZ cameras that can recognize the presenter and follow them around the room. That's where it gets exciting, is how to use AI to deliver efficiency in your workflow or improve the quality of your video retrieval. There's a lot of things that I think we'll continue to see, and it's just exciting for some of the possibilities that exist.
Yeah, for sure. And we have seen some new AI-based technologies as well. For example, NVIDIA rolling out their DLSS scaling technology based on essentially an AI. And I think, they're now in their second generation of that, still out of the reach of most people, especially because it runs best on NVIDIA 30 series cards that you can't even buy. So maybe that's a 2021 thing and not so much a 2020.
Yeah. AI upscaling is interesting. I think that it has a lot of potential. So let's keep an eye on that one for sure.
Exactly. All right. So we did come up with a list of new predictions for 2021. On the one hand, you're after the year that 2020 has been, you almost don't want to try and predict anything, but we're going to try. So let's take a stab at the first one, Dan. What do we have?
Well, my first prediction for 2021 is remote video production services. I think we're going to see a lot more of this happening in the coming year. I talk to a lot of friends who are in the production industry, and they're looking at ways to do video production without needing to have as many people on set, as many people gathering in the location to create video. So what the result of this is that we're going to start to see remote video production. So fixed sets, controlling cameras, switching cameras, doing recording and streaming with perhaps the producer in a completely different location than the talent and the cameras and the lights. It's possible to do that now, and it's exciting to see how a lot of technologies can converge to make this possible.
Yeah, it's funny, the pandemic in 2020 kind of forced us to do this very crudely. But I think that now people understand how to do it. There are technologies coming to make it better. Some are already here. And I think, one of the things about whatever a new normal might look like after this pandemic is over, some of the things are going to stick around. I think remote production is definitely one of them because people have realized that it can be extremely cost effective and can really open up a lot of possibilities for collaboration. So, I agree. I think that that's definitely going to be something we're going to continue to see rise in 2021.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with organizations who are putting their conferences online instead of in person, who are, doing even internal events and virtual events and hybrid events. Remote production, I think, is here to stay because there's, I think the trend may have been slowly moving in that direction anyways. And the global pandemic has really just accelerated it even further.
For sure. So our second prediction, I think, ties directly into that. And because it can certainly be a part of all of that. And that is that SRT as a streaming protocol will continue to gain in popularity. We've already seen that quite a lot in the latter half of 2020. And I think as more devices, more systems, more CDNs really start to integrate it, we've seen quite a few companies added to the SRT Alliance in 2020. So I think there'll be more coming on board in 2021. We've been using it for our remote production, and we've heard a ton of people doing the same thing. So I think SRT is a component of that, and just used in general, potentially as a replacement for RTMP, I think is going to continue to be on the uprise.
So many cool possibilities, so many ways that we can use this to increase the quality of our productions, to connect people in remote locations, to enable people who maybe did not have connectivity before to be able to create high quality video online. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I think so. So our third one is, again, kind of related, and that is that major events will continue to be produced online even after, everything is every 80% of the world is vaccinated or whatever it's going to take. That I think, hybrid events and other events will continue to be hosted online.
Yeah, absolutely. People like wearing sweatpants while attending a conference. And, I think that now that we've experienced the comfort of, some of, being able to network and connect and meet and learn without needing to hop on an airplane and fly halfway around the world and worry about passports and hotel rooms and everything else. And, exhibitors at conferences as well are finding that there are ways that they can still connect with their audience without needing to go through all the rigmarole of, bringing their entire organization to a conference. The other thing is with event organizers themselves, event planners are some of the most adaptive people I know. They're quick on their toes. They've made careers out of being able to adapt to shifting sands. And I think they're going to lead this shift, and we're going to see a lot of events continue to move towards the hybrid or remote model.
Yeah, exactly. And some of that can be trade shows. I think some of that will continue to be in education with hybrid classrooms, all kinds of different things. We've seen the webinars we've been running, for most of 2020 on a nearly weekly basis. The kind of interactions we've had there are on par with many of the interactions we've had in a trade show booth, and for a fraction of the cost. So if we're doing that, literally anyone running a business could be doing that for a much lower cost. So I think, I agree. This is something that'll continue.
Absolutely.
All right. Number 4. Dan, what did we have for number 4?
Content security will be paramount for creators as more content, like movies, are being released on demand simultaneously in theaters. So, what are your thoughts on that, George?
Yeah, it's a callback to what we mentioned earlier with, this Warner HBO Max deal being signed. Not everyone's a fan of it. Certainly some movie producers and directors are not pleased at all. But at the same time, it does open up the size of the audience potentially. But as any digital distribution could potentially, increase the risk of copyright infringement and theft from it. It's yet to be seen how widespread that will be. Studies over the years, way back from the days of Napster and forward, proved that even though people were downloading lots of stuff, it didn't really actually hurt sales. So we might see something similar as well, where people might watch it for free but still end up subscribing to HBO Max. Who knows? It's hard to say, but I think the flip side of this is that there are certain industries that are, in 2020, we've already seen it, and I think it's going to get more aggressive, clamping down on the way independent content creators use other content. So best example, in 2020, we've seen this kind of Twitch apocalypse of DMCA strikes against content creators using music in their live streams. And technically, they don't have the legal right to do it, and the record labels have finally woken up and come after them for it. I think we're going to see that kind of thing continue, where they want to clamp down on that, and I think part of that is record labels can't have concerts anymore, and that was a major revenue stream. So they're trying to find it other ways, and
Yeah.
fair enough. So I think that's the kind of thing we're going to continue to see is wanting to recover some of that from corners that were maybe ignored for a lot of the time.
I think in many cases, and we've seen, like you brought up Napster in the early days of music piracy. I think, we've seen this before. It's just a matter of the industry catching up with the way that consumers want to consume content. And it's just a matter of, the industry adapting. And I think we'll see that. You mentioned Twitch. We'll probably see some blanket licensing deals between the big record labels and streaming companies like Twitch, and making it easier for creators to use music and license it, or make it easier for folks to, in fair use content in their productions. So,
well, we've commented so many times on this show about how there has never been an infrastructure to pre-license for live streaming of music, really, unless you're a big player. And so maybe that's really ultimately what we'll see. Maybe a year from now is finally some sort of infrastructure to do that.
Yeah, I think so.
It's about time. And I would just add to that, we've seen some cases where the need to make sure you're diversified in your content creation as well and not stuck into a single platform is pretty important. So think about that as being a key part of 2021 as well.
Absolutely.
Big part of that would be our fifth prediction. This is one that you've been given a lot of thought to, and I think we've already seen it quite a bit. And I agree. I think we're going to see this explode in 2021. Shoppable video, which is a weird term, but essentially using video as an online shopping tool. I think a lot of people have already seen this in Instagram posts now in images, where you look at an image from a specific store, creator, or influencer on Instagram, and there's a button right there in the middle of the picture that takes you to the buy store page. Seeing that in video form.
Yeah, I think we'll probably see some innovation here. What were two of the biggest trends we saw this year in 2020? People shopping online and people consuming more video online. So, it only makes sense that we'll start to see some innovation here. Traditional advertising promotion models that we would have seen on television, those are things of the past. People want to be able to instantly connect. When you look at the consumer market, demand is still there. People want to buy things quickly and easily, and Amazon is proof of that. So I think that if some of the platforms can offer tools to content creators or OTT, or some of the big producers to find ways to integrate advertising into video more seamlessly, it's going to happen. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we talked about this and said, imagine like Amazon Prime Video has for their X-ray IMDb style tie-in. Imagine that for product. And you go, oh, that's an interesting product that this creator, whoever is using, and there's just that metadata, that little X-ray piece where it brings it up in a sidebar, and you can just click through to buy now, that kind of thing. It's definitely in some areas in the world, it's already a thing. Just hasn't really cracked the North America or the West so much. But I think that I agree, it's definitely something coming.
Very cool. Do we have anything else, George?
Well, this is my tongue-in-cheek one because it's not a positive prediction. But my last one, that's kind of a bonus prediction, is there is no question we're going to continue to see the growth and use of video conferencing, whether that's Teams, Zoom, Google Hangouts, whatever it is. They're all exploding right now. They're all innovating and adding features to make it easier and better, higher quality, more immersive, whatever it is. Clearly, even after the pandemic is over, again, people have adapted to this new work remotely scenario, and these tools are critical to that. So I think we're going to continue to see that grow. But my prediction is, because that's an obvious one, my prediction is we're going to continue to see people fail to invest in their setups. And so the video and audio of it will continue to be garbage. And it's embarrassing. That's my prediction.
I feel like there's a rant waiting to be uncorked there, George.
Oh, there's a big one waiting for that one. Have you watched some of these remote reporters on the news? They should be fired. It's horrible.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, it's so easy to elevate the quality of your home setup if you're doing video meetings on a regular basis, and it affects the way that you're perceived. So I do agree that this is something important that people need to really truly consider. And if you're willing to, previously you were willing to like buy a car to drive to work, now you don't have to do that. So take some of that cash that you're saving on gas and commuting and put that into your home setup, and do everyone else a favor by being able to see and hear you clearly and easily, so that you can communicate better, so that you can present better, so that you can represent your organization better. These are important things. And the difference between poor and great does not require as much effort as you might think.
No, exactly. Exactly. So I guess that also leads into probably the final shameless plug is that here at Epiphan, we can help you with some of that. We certainly have the experience of doing it. Dan and I are both set up in our homes for this video, and honestly, we did not put a lot of effort into it. And so if you want to do it that easy, we have the expertise to help you with that. So you can always reach out to us, send us a message, send us an email, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, all the socially things, click like, follow, subscribe, all that stuff. I hope you have been through 2020 because we've put out a ton of content for you to check out. And we're going to continue to put out fantastic content in 2021 as well. So thank you all for watching. Hopefully we're a little better than 50-50 next year on these predictions.
I'm predicting that 2021 will be a good year. There's still some challenges to overcome, but
for sure.
I think that humans have an incredible ability to adapt, and when we adapt, we innovate, and when we innovate, good things happen. So
exactly,
I'm excited for the coming year, and I'm looking forward to seeing what unfolds.
Exactly. Thank you, Dan, so much. Happy holidays, everyone, and we'll see you in 2021.